My son is now a teenager, and he's not as cuddly as he used to be. A few months ago, we were having this great conversation, and at the end of it, I asked him for a hug. He maintained his distance, put his hand up, and said, "I'll Venmo you some hugs." I guess I'll take that, since it's better than nothing. And of course, I respected his physical boundaries. I did not always realize how important boundaries are for teens. When I was a teen, I was not allowed to express my own boundaries. It's almost my 17th birthday, and I tell my mom I plan on spending it with friends at a concert. My mom tells me, "No, you're not doing that." She shuts me down with no discussion and instructs me to go to dinner with my parents. She makes clear that this is not optional. I feel angry, irritated, disappointed. It's my birthday. Shouldn't I get some say in how I celebrate it? After all, I'm almost a legal adult, get good grades, I'm responsible, I have a job. I feel completely trapped, like I'm always forced to do things I don't want to do. Like I get no say in determining anything about my life, not even what I get to do on my own birthday. These childhood experiences led me to, as an adult, have very poor boundaries and to be easily controlled by others. Just like when I was a teen, I found it difficult to say no when my boss piled additional work on me, forcing me to work late while my coworkers went home on time. I got sick and tired of doing things that everybody else wanted me to do, sacrificing my own needs and failing to maintain my boundaries. I decided to put an end to that and start working on myself. And I realized as a parent that I had to teach my son how to have healthy boundaries, because at some point he would be on his own and I wouldn't be around to guide him. I got curious about what leads young adults to have poor boundaries and how they can learn to speak up for themselves. I spent 10 years studying childhood development and the teen brain, and spent another 10 years working on my own boundaries and reparenting myself. I made the connection that when teens are taught to comply and are not allowed to express boundaries at home, which was my experience, they don't magically stand up for themselves once they leave home and become adults. Instead, they give up their autonomy to others, end up with poor to non-existent boundaries, and inadvertently allow others to take advantage of them because that is what they were taught. I also discovered that when teens are taught how to define and articulate boundaries, and are allowed to practice them at home, even when it's uncomfortable for parents, they are better able to advocate for themselves as adults. The result? Now my son is really good at stating his boundaries, even with me. He turns his phone off when he doesn't want to be available, and he doesn't feel the need to respond to every text and every notification, even from his mom. And he's good about saying no to his peers when something doesn't feel right to him. In studying all this, I learned that when we support and guide teens, instead of trying to control them, they learn how to speak up for themselves by stating their preferences and boundaries. A 2014 study conducted by the Pennsylvania State University found that when parents exerted a high level of control over teens' online activities and did not allow teens any say in developing their own boundaries, this inhibited teens from developing problem-solving skills and coping skills regarding online risks. That same study revealed that when teens were allowed to have a say in determining their own boundaries, they tended to make better choices about the content they consumed and their online interactions. When parents engage teens in conversation, inviting participation, and allow teens to speak up for themselves, teens learn how to make better choices on their own, even when parents are not around. Here's how to get started. Encourage your teen to practice their boundaries at home with you, so that they are then able to use those boundaries with friends, peers, other adults, and anyone they may come in contact with, in person and online. When we teach teens the reasons for boundaries, such as health and safety, and engage in back and forth discussion, we empower teens to have strong boundaries. When we encourage teens to create rules and boundaries for themselves, we show them how to protect their space and energy, and that need is greater than ever. Once teens practice their boundaries at home with you, they can then independently use those boundaries with friends, peers, anyone they come across, even when they don't have ready access to guidance from parents. You can do this by having a date with boundaries. The next time your teen states a boundary at home, get curious and ask questions instead of dictating and criticizing. Give them your attention, look them in the eye, and calmly state, "You can say anything to me, including no. You are allowed to have boundaries. Now, I'm interested in what you have to say." Then wait, allow them to speak, and ask clarifying questions. Practicing the date with boundaries helps create the space for connection between you and your teen, so that your teen is more receptive to guidance from you and feels that they have more autonomy in their life. When parents teach teens to have strong boundaries and allow teens to practice those boundaries at home, teens are less resistant to guidance from parents and able to make better choices for their own health and well-being. The next time the opportunity presents itself at home and your teen states a boundary, support them, allow them to self-champion, and practice the date with boundaries. And keep doing it every single time. We parents have more influence with our teens than we think. Let's step into our power and give our teens the skills to protect themselves.